So, Producer Perry, you think back to the year 2000 at some of the most dominant and magical NBA duos. Kobe and Shaq have to be up there, right? Yeah, I agree. They were almost as magical as this bowl of cereal from Magic Spoon. Oh, and for those of you watching, you can get $5 off at checkout by going to magicspoon.com/Lakers. 13 grams of protein per serving, 0 grams of sugar. It's healthy, it's tasty, it's great, just like Kobe and Shaq. Welcome into the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Lakers free agency rumors are buzzing right now. Let's dive into it all. Is Dennis Schroder going to get $100 to $120 million in free agency? My goodness, that figure seems absolutely crazy. Now, here on the channel, we've covered this ad nauseum. Schroder, according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN, turned down that 4-year, $84 million contract extension. But according to Armin Andres of the German Basketball Federation, this notable because Dennis Schroder is German, so we're going to put stock in that because I think Andres might have some sources close to Schroder to get this nugget of information. He says Schroder wants to get paid big as he enters free agency this summer. He's talking $100 to $120 million on his new deal. What? Yeah, that's the case according to Andres. Here's what he had to say in that report. Schroder has communicated this clearly. He wants $120 million, which he will probably also get. And this sum insured cannot be insured on the normal market at the moment. My reaction to this, what? The big takeaway from that quote in that article, quote, he will probably also get? I think a team in free agency, if they offer Schroder $100 to $120 million, is absolutely crazy. I don't see an organization across the NBA that would invest that much money in a player who is good but not great. And here's my lesson for everybody out there. You don't pay great for good. Dennis Schroder is simply a good player. You can even say he's a very good player. He is not a great player, and $100 to $120 million is great money. That's almost like paying for a $100 steak at Outback Steakhouse in New York City when you're surrounded by a bunch of five-star restaurants and you just decide to go to Outback and you're like, yeah, let me put down a Benjamin Franklin and pay $100 for a steak. That steak isn't going to be a steak that you get at a five-star restaurant. It's going to be a good steak, not a great steak. That's the lesson that we are taking away from today's show here on the Lakers Report. So tell me, look into your crystal ball and predict it. Will Dennis Schroder get what Andres had said he's going to get, or is at least seeking $100 to $120 million? Get your votes in the comment section down below as we continue to explore this. Type Y for yes or type N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's YouTube video, so if you get hit with that ad break, scroll on down into the comment section. It's a great time to get your votes in. Now, who is Dennis Schroder as a player? Is he the guy with the Oklahoma City Thunder 2 years ago who was in contention for the Sixth Man of the Year award when he averaged almost 19 points per game, 4 assists? He shot almost 47% from the floor and almost 39% from deep? Or is he the guy who, you saw this last year in Los Angeles, who is just okay, maddeningly inconsistent, up and down, and when he had an opportunity to step in for Anthony Davis when he went out against the Phoenix Suns, he failed. And he didn't live up to expectations. He had a golden opportunity to prove himself and help get the Lakers past the Suns in that first round series, and I thought he was awful in that first round with the exception of one game. 15.5 points per game this past year. The creation numbers aren't all that great. The three-point percentage was terrible. And that's why I think that Dennis Schroder is more suited as an Elite Six man, not a number one point guard on a team that has championship aspirations like the Lakers have. He's quick and he has burst. When you watch him, you're like, wow, that athleticism is elite. He's very quick. He can get by defenders. He's very twitchy. He can get to the cup at will. But he's not a great passer, which is what you need from the point guard spot. He's not a great floor general. I don't think he's all that great of a leader, and he's an inconsistent shooter. Night in, night out, you never knew what you were going to get from Dennis Schroder. So why would you pay him $100 to $120 million when every single game you're not sure if you're going to get the Schroder from this past year or 2 years ago with the Oklahoma City Thunder when he averaged almost 19 points per game? This is a very, very important investment and decision for Rob Pelinka and the Lakers. They can't get this wrong. The opportunity to compete for a championship is right now, and I think there are better options at the point guard spot than paying $100+ million for Dennis Schroder. Here's what an NBA scout had to say recently about Schroder, and I agree with him on this one. I think we're toe for toe in line with agreeing in this assessment. I like Schroder, but don't like him running the team as a number one point guard. I question his leadership and his shooting. The leadership thing I think is real, and I'm not going to act like I have sources inside the Lakers building, but throughout his career, he's said some questionable things. Ramona Shelburne of ESPN had reported that the Lakers didn't really agree or like how Schroder and his camp handled some of those contract extension negotiations. I thought he was insane to turn down that 4-year, $84 million contract extension, and now he's demanding $100 to $120 million according to that previous report. I'm all out on Schroder. I'm using that money elsewhere. Here's the thing, too. Lakers are very cap-strapped. I don't even think they can afford Schroder at that salary. So what would you do with him? Type R for re-sign, type L for let him go. Be sure to get your votes in the comment section down below. The Lakers Report is presented by our friends at Magic Spoon. I'm telling you this right now, it's the healthiest and tastiest cereal out there right now. It has clean ingredients, and it's not packed with all of that crappy sugar and all of those ingredients that make you fat and unhealthy. It is high in protein, it's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, wheat-free, naturally flavored, totally delicious, and it tastes like the cereal that we ate when we were children, but it's healthy for us now that we are adults. And they are trotting out some delicious flavors. Now, my personal favorite is peanut butter. I've always been a big sucker for peanut butter everything, but you can get a variety pack by going to magicspoon.com/Lakers, which gets you $5 off at checkout, or you can test out the bevy of phenomenal flavors from Magic Spoon, which again are healthy for you. Fruity, peanut butter, cocoa, cinnamon, which I've had time to time, somewhat of an acquired taste. Frosty, I had that this morning. Tastes just like Frosted Flakes, but better ingredients. Better for you than Frosted Flakes. Blueberry is another good flavor that I like to have occasionally as well. Once again, you can either grab a box or 4 for a variety pack. If you go to magicspoon.com/Lakers, you get $5 off at checkout. You can either use that link at the bottom of your screen or use the link in the description of this video. More Lakers free agency rumors coming at you. Is Talen Horton-Tucker about to get a max deal? He's going to be a restricted free agent this summer, meaning another team across the NBA can offer him a contract, and it's up to the Lakers to either match that deal, and if they don't, THT is free to walk elsewhere. And according to a report from an Eastern Conference exec, this kind of blew me away. He said, "I'd max out Talen Horton-Tucker." Now, when it comes down to his contract, there are a bunch of different specifics that you can kind of break down and dissect. He can earn up to $83 million over the next 4 years because he is a restricted free agent. You have to factor in birds' rights, the arena deal, and all that stuff. But he is free to earn up to $83 million. The good part about THT, he's only 20 years old, and the Lakers have failed to develop young players on this roster. Also, you look back at LeBron James's entire career, young players have failed to gain traction and develop at the clip that the organization probably had hoped. But THT is a clutch client. He's represented by Rich Paul. So too is LeBron James and Anthony Davis. What's the consistent theme among clutch clients? They all secure the bag and they all get paid, and I think THT could be in that window as well. LeBron James, speaking of him, really likes THT. He has consistently advocated for him. Rob Pelinka does too. Didn't want to include THT in a deal for Kyle Lowry. That's why that deal fell apart at the NBA trade deadline. The issues, though, Lakers are cash strapped. They're negative $9 million of free cap space going into free agency. That is a problem. And they also lack young pieces. I think the Lakers should trade away Kyle Kuzma. They should let Dennis Schroder walk. I'd bring back THT on a good contract, but a max deal? I'm not even sure the Lakers could afford that for the player that THT is. I talk about that NBA Eastern Conference exec saying that he'd max him out. That was part of a report from Bleacher Report, a little bit of a tongue twister there. And here's what they had to say in that report. At 20 years old, THT is only a year or two older than some of the top prospects in this year's NBA draft, including Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Evan Mobley, as well as Jalen Suggs. I'd max him out. That's what that Eastern Conference executive had to say. But is THT a max player, and is he worth around, let's say, $84 million when you look at the numbers that he put up this past year? Now, when you play alongside AD and LeBron, it's hard to put up monster numbers. The numbers here, pretty solid. 9 points per game, 2.5 rebounds. The shooting percentage is pretty efficient. The three-point percentage, no doubt, is going to have to get better. I like THT's versatility. He can play the one. He can play the two. I kind of compare him to a mini Draymond Green. Doesn't have the height of Draymond, but can kind of play that point guard, point forward role. And he's obviously a little bit girthier than some traditional ones or twos. So I'd like to bring back THT for the reasons that I had listed. Here's another thing that I'm thinking about too. We know that going into the NBA offseason and NBA free agency, it's all about leverage. Agents will throw out a bunch of reports to some thirsty reporters out there in order to try and gain that leverage. Is this executive just trying to screw the Los Angeles Lakers, make them panic, and overpay for THT so that takes them out of being in the running for some other NBA free agency? Possibly. That is something to monitor as well. Not paying THT $84 million, nor do I think a team out there is going to pay him that much either. He's a valuable player, but once again, the lesson, do not pay great for good. So will THT play for the Lakers next year? Predict it for us and get your votes in. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Going to go ahead and submit my 1 for yes. LeBron likes him. He's a clutch client. Lakers really like him, didn't include him in that deal for Kyle Lowry. I think he's back in Los Angeles next year. If you made it this far in this video, hopefully you like what you're seeing here on the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. We surpassed 36,000 subscribers back 2 weeks ago. We're trying to get to 37,000 subscribers. And if you're watching this saying, well, why should I subscribe? We're hitting you with the latest Lakers free agency news and rumors. And of course, leading up to July's NBA draft, we'll continue to scout and break down some of these NBA draft prospects that the Lakers could target in the first round with the 22nd overall pick. So either hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/LakersTV and join the Lake Show here at Chat Sports.